Number 11. No curtains. Imagine walking through a residential neighborhood in the Netherlands at night. Instead of darkened windows and tightly drawn curtains, you see row after row of brightly lit living rooms, each one resembling a small stage glowing in the darkness. Through the large windows, you might see a family having dinner, someone reading on the couch, or a cat sleeping peacefully beneath a warm lamp. What makes this especially unusual is that the curtains have not simply been left open by accident, they are deliberately kept that way. In many countries, closing the curtains after dark is a basic way to protect personal privacy. The Dutch, however, have traditionally held an almost opposite belief. If you live an honest life, you have nothing to hide. This idea is often linked to the historical influence of Calvinism in the Netherlands. According to this traditional view, keeping a home bright and visible showed that the people inside lived modestly, honestly, and without secrets. Over time, these uncovered windows became a quiet symbol of trust, openness, and transparency in Dutch society. Another explanation is related to architecture. During the period when the Netherlands was under Napoleonic influence, windows and doors were once subject to taxation. To reduce the number of openings while still allowing enough daylight into the home, many buildings were designed with fewer windows, but each one was made larger. Even after the tax was abolished, these wide, bright windows remained and gradually became a familiar feature of Dutch architecture. They are especially useful in a country that often experiences overcast days with limited sunlight. However, this openness still comes with an unwritten rule. Passers-by may glance inside as they walk past, but stopping to watch or staring into someone's home is considered rude. The Dutch may allow you to see their living space, but that does not give you permission to intrude on the privacy within it. It is a rather unusual form of privacy. Instead of protecting personal space by hiding everything from view, they rely on the trust that those around them will understand and respect the boundary. And if these curtain-free living rooms already surprise you, subscribe now, because the Dutch attitude toward the human body reveals an even bolder level of openness. Number 10. Mixed saunas and the freedom to be bare. Imagine walking into a spa in the Netherlands, expecting a quiet and relaxing afternoon. You may be in for a surprise. At many sauna facilities, swimwear is not allowed at all. These areas are often shared by both men and women, and everyone is completely nude, as though it were the most normal thing in the world. For many international visitors, especially those from more conservative cultures, this can be a shocking experience, but to the Dutch, there is nothing strange or embarrassing about it. It is simply a familiar part of their wellness culture. Today, many wellness centers still offer women-only sessions or special days when swimwear is permitted. However, at many traditional saunas, being nude remains the standard. The important thing is that the Dutch do not view nudity in this setting as sexual. They see the human body as completely natural, and the sauna as a place where everyone is equal, able to relax, and feel comfortable in their own skin. This belief is connected to the free body culture movement that emerged in Northern Europe more than a century ago. The movement promoted fresh air, outdoor exercise, and accepting the human body in its most natural form. Its purpose was not exhibitionism or sexual provocation, but to remove feelings of shame and help people become more confident and comfortable with their own bodies. Around 1,930 supporters of this lifestyle from the Netherlands, Germany, and several other countries worked together to promote the naturist movement across Europe. Over time, nudity came to be viewed as part of physical well-being, personal freedom, and equality, rather than something that always needed to be hidden. For outsiders, sitting completely nude among strangers may feel like a major challenge, but for many Dutch people, it simply reflects confidence and a relaxed attitude towards something they consider entirely natural. Perhaps that same confidence also reflects the spirit of a nation that has spent centuries living on land that, according to nature, should largely still be underwater. And that brings us to the Netherlands' next astonishing paradox. Leave a number 2 in the comments if this side of Dutch culture truly impressed. You. Number 9. A whole country below the sea. Here is one fact about the Netherlands that is enough to make anyone stop and think. About 26% of the country lies below sea level. When low-lying areas along rivers are included, more than half of the Netherlands could be flooded if people stopped controlling the water. Yet the Dutch do not live in constant fear of the sea. For roughly 800 years, they have learned how to hold back water, redirect it, and turn it into something that can be managed as part of everyday life. The Netherlands has 21 regional water authorities. Some date back to the 13th century and are considered among the oldest democratic institutions in the world. Their mission is remarkably simple: to keep the country from being swallowed by water. In many low-lying areas, water cannot flow naturally out to sea. As a result, pumping stations must operate day and night, lifting water from lower ground into canals at higher elevations. From there, the water is discharged into the sea only when the tide is low and conditions are safe. Protecting the country are more than 1,860 miles of dikes, along with an extensive system of canals, tidal barriers, sluice gates, and pumping stations, all connected to form one enormous flood defense network. But when a powerful storm approaches the coast, ordinary dikes may no longer be enough. Near Rotterdam, the Dutch built the Maesland Storm Surge Barrier, one of the most impressive water control structures in the world. The barrier consists of two enormous curved steel gates. Each one is nearly as long as the Eiffel Tower is tall and weighs thousands of tons. When sea levels rise to a dangerous height, a computer system automatically activates and swings the two gates closed, protecting Rotterdam and the low-lying areas farther inland. The entire process can take place without anyone directly operating the barrier at that moment. Structures like these show that the Dutch are not simply trying to fight nature. They study it, calculate the risks, and build entire systems that allow them to live with water. That is why the Netherlands has a famous saying: God created the world, but the Dutch created the Netherlands. With about 18 million people living in a relatively small country, the Dutch have done more than simply survive on land below sea level. They have built modern cities, major seaports, productive farmland, and one of Europe's most advanced economies. That same practical mindset is not limited to the way the Dutch control the sea. It can also be seen in how they manage sensitive issues right in the heart of Amsterdam. Number 8. The windows the world knows. Located in one of Amsterdam's oldest neighborhoods is a district known around the world. The way the Dutch handle this issue says everything about their practical mindset. Rather than forcing the sex trade underground, the Netherlands chose to legalize and regulate it. The country's long-standing ban on brothels was lifted in 2000. Since then, sex work has been recognized as a legal occupation involving registration, taxes, and certain legal protections. People working in the industry operate as self-employed professionals. They must register their work, pay taxes, and follow municipal regulations. In Amsterdam, sex workers must be at least 21 years old. Behind this decision is a distinctly Dutch way of thinking. If an activity will continue to exist even when it is banned, bringing it into the open, licensing it, and regulating it may be safer than pretending it does not happen. However, legalization does not mean the city allows the district to operate without restrictions. In recent years, Amsterdam has steadily tightened its regulations. The city has banned smoking cannabis on the streets in this district, shortened the operating hours of bars and window brothels, and introduced measures to control overcrowding and disruptive tourist behavior. Officials have also proposed relocating part of the industry to a purpose-built erotic center outside the historic city center. But such a move would likely take years, and many sex workers strongly oppose it. Amsterdam is a city trying to balance its long-standing reputation with the everyday reality of the people who actually live there. Because behind this highly visible sense of freedom, ordinary Dutch residents are quietly paying a price that no travel guide ever mentions. Number 7. Tolerated, not legal. This preference for regulation rather than outright prohibition can also be seen in something else: that has made Amsterdam famous around the world. Cannabis. Many visitors assume that cannabis is completely legal in the Netherlands. The reality, however, is far more complicated. The Netherlands has not officially legalized cannabis. Instead, it follows a policy of tolerance. This means that certain activities remain illegal under the law, but are generally not prosecuted as long as individuals and businesses follow specific conditions. Possession of a small amount of cannabis is generally tolerated. Licensed coffee shops are also allowed to sell it, but they must operate under strict regulations. They cannot advertise, sell hard drugs, or under any circumstances, sell cannabis to anyone under the age of 18. The goal of this policy is not simply to allow people to use cannabis freely. The Dutch believe that when drug use is treated as a public health issue rather than only as a crime, it can be brought out of the shadows, making it easier to monitor, regulate, and reduce the harm it may cause. For decades, this approach has helped the Netherlands become known as one of the European countries with a relatively low rate of drug-related deaths. However, the system has long contained a strange contradiction. Coffee shops are allowed to sell cannabis through the front door, yet growing it and supplying those same businesses through the back door has traditionally been illegal. In other words, a shop may sell a tolerated product, but its inventory does not come through a fully legal and transparent supply chain. This gap makes quality control more difficult, while creating opportunities for the illegal market and organized crime to become involved in the supply process. To resolve this contradiction, the Netherlands began rolling out a new experiment in early 2025. A group of participating coffee shops is allowed to sell only cannabis that has been legally grown and quality tested throughout the entire process from seed and cultivation to the moment the product reaches store shelves. Rather than tolerating only the retail side of the market, the government now wants to monitor the entire supply chain and determine whether a tightly regulated system can provide a safer alternative. After about a year of implementation, officials concluded that the program was generally working well. Only a small number of violations resulted in penalties, and no significant links to organized crime were found. It is a distinctly Dutch solution. Rather than pretending that a complex reality will disappear simply because it is banned, the Dutch bring it into the open, examine the system's weaknesses, and try to build something safer and more transparent. But the question remains, is the Netherlands' policy of tolerance a practical model that other countries should learn from? Or is it merely a fragile balance that is extremely difficult to maintain? What about you? Which aspect of Dutch life and thinking impressed you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 6. King's Day. Every year, on April 27, the entire country seems to turn a single color, orange. It is King's Day, the national birthday celebration, and the streets, parks, and canals fill with people wearing orange shirts, hats, and even orange wigs. Entire cities transform into enormous open-air markets, while boats packed with revelers drift through the canals. And for one day, the usually reserved Dutch completely let loose. Then there are the tulips. Every spring, Keukenhof Gardens bursts into color with around 7 million flowers, making it one of the largest flower gardens in the world. But tulips are not originally Dutch. They came from Central Asia, traveled west through the Ottoman Empire, and did not reach the Netherlands until the late 1500s. They eventually triggered one of the most famous speculative crazes in history. During the 1630s, tulip bulbs became so valuable that, at the height of the frenzy, a rare bulb could cost more than a house. Number 5. Living with water. To understand just how seriously the Dutch take the sea, we have to return to one terrifying night. On the 31st of January 1953, a powerful storm surge overwhelmed the dikes in the southwestern part of the country. By the following morning, 1,836 people had lost their lives. In the aftermath, the entire nation made a single promise: never again. Out of that disaster came the Delta Works, a vast system of dams, dikes, and storm surge barriers, so remarkable that engineers around the world consider it one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. Decades earlier, the Dutch had already sealed off an entire inland sea with the Afsluitdijk, a massive dam built between 1927 and 1932. The project transformed a dangerous saltwater bay into a calm freshwater lake. And the Dutch did not simply hold back the water, they took land from it. During the 1950s and 1960s, an entire Dutch province was reclaimed from the seabed. Today, more than 400,000 people live on what was once the ocean floor, forming the largest artificial island in the world. But the battle against the water never truly ends, and it does not come cheap. The Netherlands spends roughly €1 billion each year just to maintain its flood defense system, while investing even more to prepare for future sea level rise. As the climate warms and the water continues to rise, the Dutch are adapting once again, widening rivers and creating more room for water instead of simply trying to hold it back. And a nation capable of out-engineering the ocean does not waste much time on small talk. That brings us to another unmistakable part of Dutch life: the direct way people communicate with one another. If you ever work with or talk to Dutch people, prepare yourself for one thing: they rarely beat around the bush. The Dutch are famous for their direct communication style. If they think your idea will not work, they may tell you so straight to your face politely, but without softening their words to hide what they truly think. For people from cultures that place a high value on tact and indirect communication, this style can sometimes come across as cold, blunt, or even rude. But to the Dutch, directness means almost the exact opposite. They see it as a sign of honesty and respect, as well as a way to save everyone time. Rather than leaving others to guess what they are really thinking, they prefer to address the issue clearly, so both sides can move toward a solution more quickly. Even complaining has become a familiar part of Dutch social life. The Dutch may cheerfully grumble about rainy weather, delayed trains, or the price of a cup of coffee, but these complaints do not necessarily reflect negativity. Sometimes, they are simply a way to start a conversation and create an easy sense of connection between strangers. Beyond their directness, there is another trait that makes the Dutch almost impossible to miss in a crowd. They are extremely tall. Dutch men have an average height of about 6 feet, placing them among the tallest men in the world. Dutch women also rank among the tallest on average. What is especially interesting is that just 150 years ago, the Dutch were not known for their height at all. Over that period, their average height is believed to have increased by nearly 8 inches. This change cannot be explained solely by genetics or by their high consumption of milk and other dairy products. Some studies suggest that natural selection may have played a role, as taller Dutch men in recent generations tended to have more children who survived and remained healthy. However, nutrition and favorable social conditions were probably the most important factors. The Netherlands has a high standard of living, an advanced healthcare system, and a relatively equal society. This gives children from many different backgrounds access to nutritious food and quality medical care from an early age. As genetics, nutrition, and healthcare work together across generations, the Dutch gradually became one of the tallest populations on the planet. They have not only reclaimed land from the sea, they seem to have raised their own height as well. And that same practical sense of balance becomes even more apparent in the way the Dutch divide their time between work and family life. Number 4. The 4-day life. Leave a number 9 in the comments if you want to know the most popular dating app for meeting Dutch women. The Dutch have quietly built one of the best work-life balances in the world, and they have done so deliberately. The Netherlands has the highest rate of part-time employment in the developed world. It also has one of the shortest average work weeks in Europe, at around 32 hours. But this is not because the Dutch are lazy. Back in 1982, as unemployment rose rapidly, labor unions and employers reached a landmark agreement. Workers accepted shorter hours and more moderate wages in exchange for the creation of more jobs. That agreement, together with the Dutch culture of consensus behind it, helped create a system in which working fewer hours became both normal and socially respected. One of its most remarkable results is what fathers here call Daddy Day. About 1/4 to 1/3 of Dutch men work part-time, and many take one day off each week to care for their children. The government actively encourages this because research suggests that fathers who are closely involved in raising their children tend to be happier and more productive. The Dutch even have a word for the simple art of doing nothing, niksen, which means sitting quietly and allowing your mind to relax. Put all of these factors together, and you find a country where people fiercely value their time, and perhaps that is one reason Dutch children, year after year, are consistently ranked among the happiest in the world. Number 3. Dutch fingerprints on the modern world. The Dutch influence is still present throughout everyday life. For a country as small as the Netherlands, its role in global commerce has shaped the modern world in ways you may never have realized. Travel back more than 400 years to the Dutch Golden Age. In 1602, Amsterdam established what is widely considered the world's first official stock exchange, introducing the revolutionary idea of buying and selling shares in a company. Dutch ships and merchants reached across the globe, and one of their settlements, a small trading post called New Amsterdam, was later renamed New York. Look at a map of the city today, and traces of the Dutch are still everywhere. Brooklyn was named after the Dutch town of Breukelen, while Haarlem took its name from Haarlem in the Netherlands. The list of Dutch inventions is just as surprising. The compact disc was developed by the Dutch company Philips, while Bluetooth was created by a Dutch engineer. The telescope and the first working submarine also have Dutch origins, and this influence is not limited to history. Today, a single Dutch company called ASML has become the most valuable company in Europe because it is the only company on Earth capable of producing the machines required to manufacture the world's most advanced computer chips. The artificial intelligence boom you hear so much about simply could not happen without this company. And despite being smaller than many U.S. states, the Netherlands is the world's second largest exporter of agricultural products. Behind only the United States, it is a small country with an enormous global influence. Number 2. Frozen in time. Just a short drive from Amsterdam's high-tech streets, the country seems to slow down by several centuries. There is a village called Giethoorn, often known as the Venice of the Netherlands. In its historic center, there are no roads at all. Residents travel by boat or on foot, crossing more than 170 small wooden bridges that span peaceful canals and past thatched roof cottages surrounded by flower gardens. In villages such as Volendam and Marken, you can still see traditional clothing, where distinctive caps and outfits once revealed which region a person came from, and whether they were married. It was a kind of language written in fabric, preserved today mainly as a proud part of Dutch heritage. And of course, there are the famous wooden clogs. These sturdy, water-resistant shoes were once practical footwear for farmers and fishermen, and they remain a genuine national symbol, even surviving in folk traditions such as wooden shoe dancing. There is also a tradition that climate change is gradually taking away. The legendary 11 Cities Tour is a nearly 125-mile ice skating race that winds through 11 towns along the frozen canals of northern Netherlands. But the event requires a thick layer of natural ice along the entire route, and those conditions have not occurred since 1997. As winters in the Netherlands grow warmer, scientists now estimate that the likelihood of suitable ice conditions has fallen from once every 4 years to just once every 32 years. A beloved race may be quietly fading into history. Slow down in a place like this, and you begin to discover the true glue that holds Dutch life together, and it often arrives on a plate. Number 1. Cuisine herring, stroopwafels. Dutch food is honest, simple, and filled with small pleasures. Let's start with herring. The Dutch lift the fish by its tail, tilt their heads back, and eat it in just a few bites, often with chopped raw onions. It is not completely raw. The fish is lightly cured in salt before being served. Eating an entire herring outdoors this way has become a true Dutch national ritual. This is called hagelslag, and the Dutch eat around 750,000 of these sandwiches every day. But the true heart of Dutch life can be found in a word that is difficult to translate into English: gezelligheid. It describes a feeling of warmth, comfort, togetherness, and good company, the sense that you are exactly where you want to be. Nothing reflects the Dutch people's practical mindset more clearly than the way they choose to get around. Here, cycling is not simply a hobby or a form of exercise. It is woven into everyday life, present on nearly every street, and has become something like the heartbeat of the entire country. The Netherlands currently has around 22 to 23 million bicycles. Compared with a population of only about 18 million, Amsterdam alone has nearly 900,000 bicycles, even more than the number of people living in the city. But this famous cycling culture did not emerge by accident, nor did it develop simply because the Dutch were born loving bicycles. In the early 1970s, Dutch streets were dominated by cars. In a single year, more than 3,000 people were killed in traffic accidents, including hundreds of children. Then came the 1973 oil crisis, which led the Netherlands to introduce car-free Sundays. It was also the moment when the country faced a historic choice: continue designing cities around automobiles, or completely rethink the way people moved. In the end, the Dutch government chose the bicycle. Separate bike lanes, protected from car traffic, began appearing across the country. Intersections were redesigned, motor vehicle speeds were reduced, and cyclists gradually became the focus of the transportation system. The results were remarkable. Child traffic deaths in Amsterdam later fell by about 95%. Daily cycling also helped improve public health. One study found that it could prevent roughly 6,500 deaths each year and add about 6 months to the average life expectancy of the Dutch population. So the bicycles gliding across the bridges and streets of the Netherlands are not merely part of a picturesque scene. They are the visible result of a deliberate decision shaped by tragedy, public pressure, and a long-term vision for urban life. But behind the image of a green, safe country moving smoothly on two wheels, there are still serious problems that receive far less attention. And in the next section, the first cracks begin to appear in this seemingly perfect picture. The Netherlands is facing an increasingly severe housing crisis. The country is currently short hundreds of thousands of homes. Although the government has set a goal of building nearly 1 million new homes by 2030, construction continues to fall behind schedule. As demand keeps rising and supply fails to keep pace, housing prices have climbed far beyond what many ordinary residents can afford. In Amsterdam, the average home price is now approaching €700,000, while the nationwide average is around €480,000. The pressure is even greater for people under the age of 35. Many young renters must spend nearly half of their monthly income just to pay rent and maintain a stable place to live. And if you are hoping to wait for more affordable social housing, the line can stretch on for years. The average wait is more than 7 years nationwide, and considerably longer in Amsterdam. For newcomers, immigrants, and foreign workers, finding a home within their budget can sometimes feel nearly impossible. The crisis is not reflected in housing prices alone. Homelessness has also risen sharply, increasing by roughly 20% in just 1 year. At the same time, disputes and regulations surrounding nitrogen pollution have stalled thousands of construction and agricultural projects, making the housing shortage even worse. This is the reality behind the picture-perfect postcards: a wealthy, modern, highly organized country where many people still cannot find a place they can afford to call home. Yet this contradiction is precisely what makes the Netherlands so fascinating. Despite all of these challenges, the country still ranks among the happiest places on Earth, consistently placing in the world's top 5. While Dutch children are often ranked the happiest in the world, so which version of the Netherlands is the real one? Is it the dream, or the crisis hidden beneath the surface? Let us know in the comments. Is the Dutch model something the rest of the world should follow? Or is that picture-perfect image simply concealing a crisis the country has yet to solve?